Yes, the one and all Paulson welcoming you to Starfleet Universe On Call. And tonight, well, you got me, of course. Lovely. Always me. And, of course, we have Doug. How you doing, Doug?
Hi, I'm here. How are you?
Good. Doing good.
How's everybody doing tonight?
Well, I hope they're doing good, because unfortunately I can't hear from them quite yet. And the chat room hasn't started to fill up. I'm hoping that they'll actually fill up, because I know I started just a little bit late, because me and Doug had a little pre-talk about his computers and having him join to be in a little bit of situation, possibly even better quality recording too, which would be awesome. But Twitch doesn't support that, and TalkShoe, it is what it is. Actually, if you have an account, in theory, you should be able to talk on TalkShoe using your computer. So if you want to look into that, you can look into that. But it would require you to actually set up a TalkShoe account. That's the only one thing. Which they're free, so it shouldn't be that big of a deal. Hey, Bader. Bader, okay, I'm not going to try to pronounce the. I just want people to just join the chat room over on Twitch, because Twitch is over there. I got TalkShoe over here. Hopefully, the thing is, most of the time I don't. To be totally honest, these days I rarely look at TalkShoe when it comes to chats, because most of the chatting is over there. And because over there, that's Twitch. That's where most of the chatters go. Dave's going to be over there. We have a lot of times Chris shows up, and we got Iggy, and we got quite a few people who show up. And of course, the more the merrier. So if you're there listening to my voice, obviously you like listening to me. If you want to listen to us live, I'd say go over to twitch.tv/SFU On Call, and you'll be able to see me and you'll be able to join the chat room. And I'm sure you have loads of fun, because Lord knows that sometimes the topics there are not the topics here. So they'll go off on their own little discussion thread, and it's like, okay, that's not what the topic is for tonight. Okay, whatever. Hey, it works. But anyhow, the topic. That was weird. Sorry. Car just went by, and it sounds so much like the window was open, which it shouldn't be. But I don't think it is. Don't mind me. Okay. But anyway, wrong way. I thought it might be a cat in the window. But anyhow, the topic for this evening, actually, I want to discuss actually the ship that I flew. Unfortunately, Barry was not able to make it to Gamers of Winter. I apologize. And hopefully we'll have Gamers of Summer, which would be great. I understand that financially it's always a difficult thing, because of the number of people decreases just because of when it's run, and that's fine. If we have Gamers of Winter, I'd be happy with that.
Gamers of Summer is difficult because of the holiday.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
That,
right, because the weekend is
usually like 8%.
Right. It happens that the weekend they usually run it on, which is Labor Day weekend, a lot of people, they take it away, especially because it's like the last holiday before the kids go back to school. In some cases, around here, not quite the case. They just what they do is they have the kids go back to school the week before Labor Day weekend, have it as a short week, have the kids. And then that's when they kind of set up things. To be honest, I don't think any of the teachers really get any work done that first few days, and then they take a break because of the holiday, and then they come back and then they actually start school. Now my sister in the Dallas Fort Worth area, their school system, they start around mid-August is when they actually start classes. So it's a little different for them. But we're talking about here in Pennsylvania, so it is what it is. As I said, I'm fine with it. I'd like to meet up more, but the scheduling just does not work out for most people, and that is the problem. Financially, it doesn't make sense. So
it's a family reunion.
Right. Oh yeah. Oh, understood, Doug. And I totally understand because
yeah,
I don't want you be paying out of your own pocket just so that I can have a good time.
It's also the end of it's really the end of the main campaigning season, so to speak, for people going to conventions. Because it's like in the summertime, you almost can't swing an arm without hitting a convention weekend. If you want to go somewhere, June through August, there's conventions all over the place. But it's kind of the tail end of all that. And there's a lot of people that are just kind of burned out and going to conventions. A lot of them have family reunion commitments and so on. A lot of kids are going back to school, like you said, and a lot of people going to college are actually using that weekend to scoot off to college, too.
Mm-hmm.
So.
That is true. That is
It
true.
is what it is.
Oh, yeah, well, that always depends upon the college, because I know for Drexel, because we actually had trimesters, which are 10-week semesters. So we would actually start like the week after Labor Day, get done around mid-December, and take off until like early January.
We should have a thing where people wear white shoes to the event. Because it's not after Labor Day.
Oh. That's wearing...
That's an old reference.
Ugh.
You ever see the movie Serial Mom?
Serial Mom,
Remember
no.
that movie?
No.
John Waters movie.
Hmm?
And basically it's about a suburban mom who gets, based off of alleged real-life stuff, who gets accused of killing all these people for various trivial reasons in the suburbs. As basically a serial killer, but she'll kill you because you didn't put your recycles out in the right two things, or you poked your nose in her, or you were wearing your white shoes after Labor Day, that kind of thing. So It's one of those very old, very ancient little tradition-y things. So you don't wear white after Labor Day. Because, summer's over. Okay, fine. Just a random thought. But, yeah, you were saying Barry came out the other day for a game on the way home from site.
Yeah, he did that a couple weeks ago. So, yeah, he was going to head out, and so I was hoping to meet up with him on Monday, but the problem is Monday, for him to stop by and play, it would be in the mid-afternoon, which means I'd be working. So fortunately, we were to meet up Friday night and got to play, and he played the Culligar, and I played the Drex. And what I was going to have as a topic tonight is actually talk, at the very least, start off as a topic for tonight, which is talking about the Drex and their weapons and me flying it. To be honest, when it comes to the battle itself, I did not great. Actually, I did actually pretty darn good, considering that, number one, I screwed up. I think about the game again, and I really know that I screwed up. I didn't take advantage of the Drex's ability to hit twice. It's nimble ship. It's computer controlled, so it gets to move last, which is always cool, always a neat thing. But so and me surviving as long as I did, I was shocked. To be honest, I was really, really shocked of how long I lasted. Just because the only reason I had to finally kind of give up in the end is because the problem I had was I had like half the power, and I still had plenty of weapons. The problem is I didn't have the power to charge them. Well, he didn't have he had lots of power, not many weapons, but the problem is that the weapons he had, they were on shuttles. He had shuttles that he launched that was just going to beat the crap out of me while I was trying to repair my ship. So I definitely lost it tremendously. My biggest mistake was the first turn. Okay, the one thing. Okay, let's see if I can bring that up. I'm just wondering if I have it here. No, I don't have it right there. Let me just see if I can find it real quick. I apologize. I should have had this prepped. There's the Culligar already. Actually, let's do this one. And that should be right. Don't mind me. There, and it should be, I think, downloads. Yeah, there it is. And this is, let me bring this one up real fast. And big surprise, I hit the wrong one. Anyway, here it is. Have a few last phasers. There's only 2 phaser ones up here when it comes to PWs. But if you notice, the one thing that's really crazy about this ship is the heavy weapons. Got 1, 2, 3 heavy weapons facing relatively towards the front, and 1 in the back. Now, these are the firing arcs for those heavy weapons. I.e., this one here, that fires the hex directly in front of it, and you can fire on these off by 1 hex. You can fire them on ones that are off by 1 hex, which is fine, especially given that the Barry's one basically gives the ship additional ECM, and it can offset the -1 that happens because I'm offset by 1 hex. So like right here, I can fire both this one and this one, those 2 heavy hyper cannons at your ship. So it can be really nasty at that. So which is nice. Now, notice one thing about the heavy hyper cannons. You've got the explosive rounds do 12 per, and the arming is 2, which is cool because of the game starts with you holding, which is 1 point of energy. And according to the rules, you can be either explosive, implosive, or enveloping. Now, enveloping, this doesn't look like it does much damage. Actually, it does so much more damage. It's incredible. And that is with the heavy hyper cannons. The 6 here, like from range 1 to 3, which is an automatic hit. That's 6 boxes per shield. So it does 36 points of damage, with it basically being overloaded. Yes, Mike, this is Omega for those. Yeah, I agree. The moving last also is quite an advantage. And the thing is, I didn't take advantage of that as much as I should. So, and if you notice here, though, both the implosive and enveloping, both of those require ammunition. So you're limited about the number of enveloping rounds that you can fire, or the implosive rounds you can fire. Now, the implosive rounds are mainly designed for internals, so that let's say you fire an implosive round on a downed shield. It says it does 9 points of damage. No, it doesn't. It does 9 points of damage, but that is 18 internals if you're firing an implosive round. And if I recall correctly, the hyper cannons are always hit first when it comes to damage. They do their damage first. So, you know, if the implosive round can't get through the shield, then it doesn't do any damage. Well, it doesn't do any internal damage. But you know, if you, as I said, if you get one point of internal damage, it's actually 2 internals. So it's quite it can be quite powerful. The enveloper, as I said, is quite powerful because for the heavy enveloper round, that's six per box. That means it's 36 total points of damage versus the explosive round, which only does 12, and that's directed. Now, obviously, it's not nearly as powerful as Hellbore, where when you have one shield that's down, 2/3 of the damage goes towards that down shield. You know, it's not nearly as nice as that, but you know, at the same time, you know, the opponent can't really fight it as easily. Meaning that, you know, it's all around. It's just like enveloping plasma torpedo. Obviously, this ship has a turn mode B, which is quite cool, and as I mentioned before, it can actually do two free hets, which is also quite nice. The thing is, I did not take advantage of that because of when it comes to the initial battle pass. When I was actually starting the game, I was thinking about, okay, how do I want to start my initial battle pass? There's multiple ways of doing it. One of the ways of doing it is actually going right into the center of the board. Okay. The other one, of course, is a corner dodge. And I've found that because it depends upon what are you trying to accomplish. The good thing about a corner dodge, yes, it basically pins you into a corner, but that's what you want overall, because you're going to do a battle pass anyway. And the good thing about doing a corner dodge is that your opponent comes to you, you know, sooner or later he'll come to you, whether it's going to be in that corner or along the edge or down the bottom corner. One of those two, because it's either going to be like down here or here or over here. Because he'll come to you now, you know, and the goal of doing corner dodge, you know, so you're running along the side of the map there, you know, around the side of the map. The goal there is to have plenty of room to run. When it comes to the Andromedan, I've done that before because of I want plenty of room so that I can run away from like plasma torpedoes. You know, give me plenty of time to recharge my my 2-turn TR beams. Now, obviously, this is again this is another ship that's two-turn arming. So in theory, I could probably do the same thing. Now, to me, the interesting part about the ship, as I pointed out, is that you have heavy cannons both front and rear. So in the case of a battle pass with the Drex, you can come, depends upon how you want to do this, because in theory, you can come in, hit using like the left side of the ship, left part of the ship over here, have it so that you can get this one in, and if you get close enough, possibly even the front, both the heavy hyper cannon, the B and A. Okay, you can do that, and possibly even require you to do a couple impulses. Now, the tough part here is always the tough part about this maneuver that I'm going to be talking about, and that is that one, you have to be going fast to do it. Two, you're doing it over multiple impulses, which is not always a good thing, especially with explosive rounds, where he can actually change his shield impulse to impulse. So that's a bad aspect to this, because Barry brought it up, and I went, which is the whole idea of hitting with like maybe these two, then heading or turning and getting the right side ones there. So you start off going straight up like this, have them off your left side, hit them, turn, then have your right side hit them, and then het, so that you can then hit them. Now that's over again, as I mentioned, that's going to be 3 impulses, and the problem with that is that he can change his shield that gets hit, and I'm sure he would be one that's changed the shield he's going to hit. Now, this is in theory, with that, if you're planning on that, what you might want to do is actually have it so that your rear heavy hypercannon is actually firing an enveloping round. The idea being that it doesn't matter if he changed his shield, you get it. Now, with Barry's updated tournament cruiser ship, he took the enveloping rounds from 8 down to 4. So you can go through the enveloping rounds really, really quick. In theory, you can write it. When it comes to light ones, you can fire them, every turn. But when it comes to developing rounds for light cannons, I'd say it's kind of a waste, just for the plain simple reason that you're limited in the number of ammo. Versus, because it's developing round now. Implosive round, and that's one thing when we played, I didn't fire a single implosive round, but at the same time, it's one of those that I didn't feel confident in being able to get to another down shield. Now I worked on it so that I could get to it, in which case I use a regular explosive round, which of course are free, other than the meaning they're not limited, that the implosive and developing rounds are. Now I did charge up my heavy ones with envelopers, so that I could actually hit them hard. Have it so that if I didn't get down to that down shield, I would still get damage. In this case, I had either blown down or close to blown down his shield the first battle pass. So that would make sense to me. Now, as I said, most part in that battle, I did close in attacks, i.e., I was in the range 1 to 3, and that's because it's an auto hit. And of course, I have a few P1s. P1s can do a tremendous amount of damage. really close in. You know, these you can obviously get as they drift off in the range, they die pretty quickly. It's weird. The phaser P1s, not the phaser 1s, but the phaser P1s, those are interesting in that they are, when it comes to the lower die rolls, 1, 2, 3, they can really hit hard at longer ranges. As you can see here, for those who actually are on the video, 6 to 8 for a phaser P1 is 5, 3, 3, 1. For a phaser 1, it doesn't do that. It's more like, I think it's like 4, 3, 3, 2, 1, 1, or something along those lines. I don't have it on available. The other ships I have available right now are just the Omegas, so I know I can't. Mike, there are no reloads for ammo. Those are the amount of range ammo you have for that game, for that scenario. Now, to be honest, I have to look up the Drex when it comes to the ammo and how many. Normally, my guess is that this is the normal for the tournament cruiser, i.e., this should be like the heavy cruiser type ship. I'm not sure if it's considered a heavy cruiser or considered like a destroyer, because the Drex are kind of weird. But in any case, that my guess would be, because this is from Ken Burnside, who created this, and so I think having 16 impulsive rounds for hyper cannons for a heavy cruiser and 8 developing rounds for a heavy cruiser, that's normal. But I'm pretty sure that the ammo is not reloadable. This is not like drones, where you actually have them in storage and you can load them. This is how many you have in available, and when it comes to, my guess is that you might have some in cold storage, maybe, but they can't be brought out during a scenario. Do this, whatever. I'd have to really look that up.
Well, the ammo part is also just for the specials.
Right, it's only for the special round. Right, the implosive and the developer.
Ammo. Am I right on that?
You're correct. Now,
but for the big shots, yeah, you'd have to be very sparing and careful on those. But I think if you're down to doing those, you're doing pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the PW3s, the phaser W3s, which are really interesting, in that range 0, they automatically hit on 4s. 50% chance of killing a regular drone, I get 4 points of damage. At range 1, it's 50% chance versus a regular phaser 3 is a 5/6 chance. Yeah, I think it's 5/6 chance. No, actually, I think it's 2/3. Because I think it's range 0 is 5/6 chance. Yeah. But now, so overall, I like the Drex. I really do. I think they're an interesting empire to fly, and as I said, that for me the crazy thing is that I don't. Well, the thing is that I need to play it more to give a better feeling for how to actually fly the ship properly. I like the idea of being able to do the het, but again, there's an issue with power. You only have 38 points of power, and damn, man, the light hyper cannons cost 2 points of power to charge. I'm not sure if anybody who's on Twitch looked at this. And that is, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 heavy hyper cannons. Then, in addition to that, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the light cannons. Now, that is a total of 10, that's right, 10 heavy weapons, in theory. The light hyper cannons, yeah, they do 4 points of damage. Really? Your phasers do more damage. At the range that we're talking about, because we're talking about, okay, range 6 is 4 points of damage. Yeah, the phasers can do more damage at range 8, range 6 than the hyper cannons. Yeah, CPU, that's used for command and control, which is interesting. It gets hit on bridge, emergency bridge. Okay, I gotta think about this. Not flag bridge, and so what's the one that does? I think it might get hit flag bridge, but it doesn't get hit on Oxcon. I think I got that right. Basically, it's a control, and the CPU, uncontrolled direct ship would be an interesting ship. I'm not sure, and I usually don't worry about uncontrolled ships, to be honest, because CPU. Okay, you got 6 boxes of CPU, which is around standard number of command spaces in a ship. Versus if you're flying like a Orion. Orion is it's a little short. If I recall correctly, they've got, I think, 4 control spaces. So in theory, they could become uncontrolled. Well, most ships, it's really hard to make them uncontrolled. Yeah, that'd be interesting. Star Trek, Starfleet through the ages, from as early as we can go. It's like no one's gone before. But anyhow, so the phasers are good, but as I said, the light hypercannons are they don't do much damage. It almost seems like, if you think about it, and I'm thinking about it now, which is possibly only loading, charging, what, 2 or 4 of the light hyper cannons, and let the other 4 just go by the wayside. Of course, here's the thing. Which is these guys. You've got 2 light hyper cannons facing the rear, so it's a great. One of the things I like about the ship is that ability. That's the ability to fly away and still engage the enemy, still engage your opponent's ship, because of, even if they're chasing you, you can fire weapons at it. Decent weapons. You've got 1 heavy hyper cannon, and you got 2 light hyper cannons. And if all you need to do is if he's chasing you, beat the crap out of his shield number 1 while he's trying to chase you, or shield number 2 or shield number 6, depending upon what the facing is. As I said, assuming he's chasing you. And so it definitely is one of those things that actually is direct fire, and it has a deterrent. On not chasing it. assuming that you don't do the battle plan, which was brought up by Gary. Sorry, I wanted to check that. Sorry, Barry, not Gary. I thought of Gary. That's why I wanted to check to see if anyone was here, if he was here. But Barry, which was the whole idea of heading away and then firing the rear one. In a way, it might be a good idea not to fire the rear one, but to have it as a deterrent to your opponent, to have it so he doesn't chase you. I think that's actually an interesting idea. Now, obviously, one way to really make sure your opponent doesn't chase you, knock out a shield number 1. So it might actually behoove you to use the heavy rear one, just if it can do that coup de grace of knocking down the final box of the shield number 1. Yeah, you can repair it, but that means he has to slow down and repair it, and still he's not going to be very likely to want to actually chase you down and have his shield number 1 exposed if he can avoid it. Now let me. This is the ship he was flying approximately. The phase is a little different when it comes to the numbers, but if you look at when it comes to the color guard, if you look at some of this, it's just nuts. The anti-matter cannons, not bad. 1 to 3, 1 to 5 to hit, and actually a lot of times we were engaging really close, to be honest, from 1 to 3. He didn't mind it. I didn't mind it. So he'd be 1 to 5. The thing is, he never missed with his antimatter cannons. So he was kept on doing constantly 6, and every once in a while he'd do 12. So he'd do an overload shot on me. He never used the antimatter cloud generator, which is fine with me. Actually, no, he did use it once, but I got rid of his antimatter cannon generator pretty quick. Now these are the annoying ones, which is these phaser M's. The phaser M's, M1 and M3, they are not a table phaser, where depending upon what you roll, you can do better or worse. This is a to hit. So when it comes to the M1s, out to range 2, they're automatic hits. So at range 2, if you had 5 phaser 1s facing me, he did 25 points of damage, period. There was no question in that. And same for the down here when it comes to the M3s, which is all the way out to range 3, is guaranteed damage. Now, obviously the damage varies based on range, but that makes it really annoying and difficult, because now we're no longer flying a battle of percentages, of possibilities, of probabilities, where we are dealing in absolutes to a certain degree. At least when it comes to the phasers, they're absolutes. If you get to a certain range, boom, automatic damage. There's no question whether it's going to be hitting you or not. It just does damage. Versus the autocannons, the antimatter cannons. I think about ACs, I think about autocannons, that's actually from BattleTech. Autocannons are from BattleTech. And so they have a chance of actually missing. Of course, as I mentioned, he never missed. And so at the end of it, he had warp power, but not many weapons left, because I kept on knocking out his weapons, which made things interesting. So overall, I like the Drex. I want to fly it more. as I told Barry, it's like, you know, who was it? Oh, it was Peter. I think it was. No. I'm looking for Yolanda. I want to say, is this one? No, it's a key. I don't see. Maybe that's something that Barry himself made up, which is probably the case. Because this is L'Oreal. Oh, no, Yolanda. There it is. Right there. The crazy part about these ships is this. That is, okay, you've got these plasma whips. You got 4 plasma whips. And then plasma whips, you got this is a Lunda host tournament hunt ship that we're talking about. I brought it up just because of Barry and I discussed it, and I thought it might be interesting just at least to bring it up. And that is, you was telling me how Peter McKee never lost in the ship, and one of the reasons there is the ability to heal. You can actually, it has healing of 6. That means you can actually fix up to 12 boxes, which is nuts. But here's the thing, if you haven't noticed, there are no phaser weapons on this ship. None. It's got it has your plasma whip table, which you can, if you want to, you can consider those kind of plasma whips. If you look at the table, they're good to out the range 4, which means they're for one thing. They're for defense is their main use. They do up to 3 points of damage, up to 5 points of damage at range 0. Up to 4 points of damage at range 1. Their average damage looks like to me, around 2, a little less than 3, like 2 3/4. I'm guessing at the moment in time, because it's 4 3 3 2 2 2 2. And if I want to, I could actually add that up, which is 6 and 6, which is 12 plus 4 is 16. Divide that by 6. See, that's the gotcha. So I think that might make it 2.5. That doesn't sound right. 2.5 would be all 3s, so it's a little more than 2.5 average. But when it comes to bioelectric bolts, if you look at it, this is based on energy that you put into the weapon. And so the bioelectric bolts for the Alunda, they basically, the one weapon acts as both a phaser weapon and a heavy weapon. It all depends on one critical thing, and that is how much energy do you put into it. And that defines what kind of weapon it is. Now, also you notice there's only, for this one, there are 10 of these guys. Now, I know Barry talked about, I forget if the one he currently has is 8 or 10. I want to say it's 8, and they tried to bring it up to 10, and it was too powerful. But to me, I was talking to Barry, and I told him that I really felt like that kind of weapon is, because the Alunda have only bio bolts, that one kind of weapon, they don't have phasers, it makes it really hard to balance it overall. Because of also the bioelectric bolts get hit like on everything. I know it gets on phasers and torps. I forget it gets hit on drones or not. I don't remember what plasma whips get hit on. Barry told me, I totally forgot. And we were talking about this real quick, and I'll mention it. which is the plasma cloud. They have a plasma cloud generator. He said that it takes a lot of power. I don't know the power required for it. And the way he described it, we talked about it. The way he described it, to me it seemed like that the plasma cloud, the generator, and which is, it generates this cloud here. Now, I felt like, given how much it cost, power-wise, because Barry said it cost a lot of power, and I forget how much. And that it's mainly designed for fleet battles, and in fleet battles, it's meant as a kind of getaway device, because of it cuts back on the amount of damage that, well, I forget if it produces ECM or it just automatically does an offset or what, but it basically reduces the amount of damage that that the ship will take if the weapon goes through a cloud hex. So, and from my understanding, it's high power. So to me, that says that's defensive, and it's a last resort defensive weapon. When you instead of putting energy into your weapons, you put it into the system, so that you can shoot it and just start running away, because anything that's going to be fired at it is going to have to go through that cloud. So, in a tournament play, you're playing in the fishbowl. And the fishbowl doesn't make nearly as much sense, because I forget how long I had to wait. As I mentioned, it comes out the rear. So it's not like a Tholian caster where you can set up in front of you and then kind of fly behind it. You would actually, if you want to use this in a kind of offensive, quote unquote, offensive manner, what you have to do is you have to go like towards the center of the board and hit and fire the plasma cloud generator. At that point, okay, you can get away, but what are you doing? It makes no sense, because I actually have to read the rules, because I'm not sure if the plasma cloud actually does any damage to an opponent's ship. Because if it does, then that makes sense. It would force the opponent to go around it, but still, even if it just forces them to go around it, it's not going to be worth the wasting of the het in that container, in that scenario, So, and as Dave mentioned out there, Olanda or use space whales for their ships. So leads me to believe that basically these are one of those symbiotic ships, like or basically that's also like the dragons. Let me see. It does. I know it's begun with B. I don't think he has it. Yeah, I don't see it. Thank you, Dave. The Branthenion, which are dragons, and basically, in the case of the dragons, they actually attach, attach a ship to the dragon. So they have places for crew, crew quarters and weapons and things like that, in addition to the normal weapons that the dragon has. And yeah, they use lobotomized dragons, which is interesting. Um, and that's what to me it looks like what the Olanda are is the same kind of deal, though it's not. They're not lobotomized. I'm not sure if that the whales are lobotomized. My guess is that they're not. I'm not sure if they can even had to be honest. Yeah. But anyhow, um, so because of the bioelectric bolts, it makes it really difficult to overall um, balance. So I wish I wish Barry luck because Barry said that Peter has never lost a ship, and of course I asked him, I was like, well, okay, um, other than you, has he played anyone else? And he said no, which leads me to believe that as I told Barry, that brings up an interesting predicament because is it the ship is that Peter's really familiar with the ship and can play it very well, or is it that the ship cannot be balanced, or is it that Peter knows very very well? Because see that's part of tactics overall is not just to know what your ship can do and what your ship should do against a certain other ship, but you have to also know the mindset of the captain you're flying against, and therefore what tactics would best apply to that captain. And given that Peter's been flying almost exclusively against Barry, it's possible that it's just that Barry doesn't have the knowledge to when it comes to tactics against Peter, and especially against this ship. So, and actually, that's one thing I mentioned to Barry also, which when we talked about the Drex, and that is, I'm not like Paul Scott. Paul Scott is one of those people who can look at the rules, look at the ships, evaluate it, and then go, this is what you're going to do. But and it's like, wow, because he was a great tactician, really understood the rules. Paul Scott is also a lawyer, so that's part of his job is looking for understanding the law, in this case the rules, and applying that and seeing what's the best way to achieve your goals through those rules, which always seems interesting if you really think about it. And that is, some people don't say there are no rules, but rules are a good thing overall. So anyway, I think I'll end it there. I know we started a little bit late, but I don't see it as much more to talk about. One, about the Drex. Two, talk about any other subject. I don't think there's really much time to talk about any other subject at the moment. So I think I'll just wrap it up for this evening. I hate that because I know I did it. You okay there, Doug?
Yeah, I'm relatively fine. But thanks for having us on.
Yep, no problem. You have a good night. So, had a relatively short podcast tonight, mainly talking about the Drex, some of Olanda, and also the color guard, because Lord knows the color guard looks interesting. As I said, the when it comes to up close, it reminds me more of Warp War than it does the Starfleet battles. Because normally Starfleet battles, one of the things that's part of it is the die roll. How nothing is guaranteed. Nothing. I mean, look at most of the weapons. There's rare that a weapon is guaranteed to hit. The only time it's guaranteed to hit is like range 1. Actually, I think you're range 1 or range 0 of a disruptor, that's guaranteed to hit. But that's crazy close. So unlike the color guard, which you can be out to like range 2, yeah, it's pretty darn close. But as I said, I flew pretty close to him, which I don't think was a very good idea anyway. So with that, I am Paul Franz, and I bid you a good night.